How so?
Cold.
Right,
Yeah.
we're looking for cold spots. So you guys should all be able to see me in there, red, orange, and yellow guy. So here's a joke. If you were a bridal party, I'm the hottest thing inside the frame right now. So remember that, because we're looking for blue and black. You all are going to get everybody's data back. It comes back to you as a conglomerate. So you're all going to be able to see this video of whoever's going to be basically watching it or taking the video. The cool thing is I'm looking for those blue and black spots to either take shape or to start moving on their own. When I say take shape, I want it to have head, shoulders, moving arms, and legs, if that makes sense. The other thing about your video is there's a blue dot that bounces around the screen. That blue dot is there showing you the exact coldest spot in the frame at that moment to help guide your eye of where the coldest spot's going to be. It also gives us temperature. I keep track of your moon phases, your temperature, weather, all of that for you, and it goes into your analysis tomorrow morning. So tonight's temperature is at 68 degrees, I believe, so I'm looking for 15-degree differences. So we're looking for 53 degrees and colder than that. So again, that's usually the barometer of 15 degrees or colder. So I'm going to stop the video. We're going to stay away from all vehicles inside this lot. Do not go in between or in front of these cars. All right, let me take a look at your word list. Let me see what we got going on. Everybody else, let's spread out. Let's get to work.
Where you want to go?
No, you got it.
We'll go anywhere in here.
How far fire?
Walk in front of me so I can keep you so frame of reference. Just walk that way. Oscar, how's your dad?
You're supposed to ask about the mansion.
Oh,
That's the question.
ask her when it was built.
When was the mansion built?
Ask her if the bricks used to build the mansion were made from slaves.
Home came through. Home.
What year was it built? What year was the mansion built?
People.
Anything for me, I could have? Barely any.
Good. Not seeing anything down in the 50s, so a little high 60s, but
So with your camera, it's not always a real-time find. It's usually going through the media the next day.
okay.
And again, if I capture something with that every single night, I would probably be the most famous man in the world. So again, keep that in mind. I get probably about 8 to a dozen really solid pieces of evidence a year. So just kind of keep that in mind. I don't always follow up with you in real time unless, of course, you're a great conversationalist. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go talk to Chip because he's fun. But with this spirit box is really going to be my main focus with you too. Have you heard anything out of it?
Home, people.
Home is pretty common here, just so you know. Home, house, family. Those three come up here all the time. I'll write it down, but it's definitely a common term.
Okay.
Anything else?
Those are the only two clear words that I've been able to make out.
Okay. Well, keep listening. Again,
There's
that one
definitely
is going to
stuff
be the
coming
most
through.
accurate. Again, I love that spirit box. I just wish they'd make one that recorded on an SD card,
Yeah.
so that way I can listen to it later.
Yeah, there's
So-
definitely a lot coming through. It's piecemeal.
Well, yours
I'll
is,
get
again, you're
better.
getting less than the other ones, way less. Like, Lori had to give hers up to her son because she couldn't, too much.
coming through. No.
Way too much. So, have fun with this one. I'm going
Alright.
to keep bouncing.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, where is Mr.
Keep walking around. Let's go back to where the slave house was. Okay. What was that?
Sounded like my name.
Yeah, I
That was
think so.
really weird. Alright, I'm getting it. I just got a real... Did you hear that?
Yeah. Like Hillary. But it wasn't absolutely, but it definitely, you hear a little bit of what you want to hear, but let's go tell them.
That kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Come on, let's go tell them. So we think we heard Hillary.
Everybody's hearing their own name. That is so weird.
Alright.
So Zora's
Like,
got
I
her
was like,
initials.
did I just hear that? And he heard it. too.
Zora got her initials on the Ouija board. Amelia got her name directly on her word list, and you just heard yours. That is so weird. Somebody's like watching, or you guys all brought somebody with you. So, wow, that is just weird. And it's always your first instinct. Like, don't second guess it. It's what you heard. It's what you heard.
Okay.
Where's the car at? Let's see,
It's like
lights.
SATs.
Yeah.
Yeah, first guess. Zora, what was the other initial thing? What's your last name? president again. There's President right here. Big name, Sean. Also Hurricane. Hurricane. Is that Hurricane Sean? We're not that far yet. I don't know what you'll be referring to. I have to go into the hurricane records to see if something impacted Charleston directly. No, just again, I want to keep all your devices running. So you've got a camera, we'll be going just for a few minutes, we're going to go over all the answers, but I want to kind of tell you like how I'm looking at all of this. So we have everybody's hearing something relevant to them themselves. So we have Hillary's name that showed up at a Hillary spirit box, and Mega's name showed up over here. And it was spelled properly. And then Zora had her initial show up on her word list. So again, this is not coincidence that none of you knew any of that. So that's 3 people out of 13 of us out here, granted, me and London aren't using devices, except for, obviously my you guys have a lot going on. I still don't know what the January 9th is, but the number 24 keeps showing up. We also had the word home show up as well, and then the word people came up between 2 different spirit box people as well.
Hey, 2024.
2024. Seeing that on there, that's where I was like, you heard the number 24 too, right? Somebody heard the number 24. Yeah, so the 2 of you heard the number 24, because I knew I'm looking at this as a common thing. I want you guys to keep in mind that the spirit boxes are slowed down. What that means to me is that if we ask what color is a big red barn, you might hear Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't need Rudolph the Nosed Reindeer. So when you get a number like 2024, and then I hear him tell me the number 24, it's screaming 24 to me, if you're getting the gist of that. So again, I'm excited. You guys are grabbing this really, really fast. So there's certain nights where I have a group this size where like it takes me another 20 minutes to explain the devices. So kudos to all of you. Great job. You're going to make my job a whole lot easier. I can't wait to watch the Blair Witch Project coming out of nowhere, by the way. When I actually need to study, I always hand to the smallest person in the group. So, all right, so let's go over all these answers and let's go ahead and get that thing muted if you don't mind. So again, those of you with video cameras, again, you guys got to know the rules. Let's keep them running just while we're here, and then I'll explain the next space of where we're going.
Doctor?
Well,
Where'd
yeah,
you get doctor?
I got doctor as well.
There was a doctor that moved down there. So Dr. Ladd. That's when you're supposed to speak up when I say,
Yeah,
hey,
we were
is there any
talking
weird
about
shit
the
going on? And you're
doctor
like,
and the
I got
tool
nothing.
and-
So you got the whole damn
seriously?
story.
I turned it off when we were walking in between doctors.
Doctor again. Look at that. Interesting. The number 59 shows up here a lot too, just so you guys know. That's the address that the doctor lived. And that's a very interesting space because we're going to be very near there at our last stop. And we've been noticing some things trickling over that are specific about the house, not necessarily Dr. Ladd, but the house itself. So it's very interesting how that works out. A lot of research goes into this. I'm sure you guys have picked up on that.
Heard another song.
He's hysterical. I'm going to give him a job. But anyway, just to keep me chuckling. So, welcome to the Powder Magazine. That is the little tiny building that you guys are facing with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses on it. So those are earthquake bolts. If you guys haven't taken other Charleston tours, let me quickly explain what an earthquake bolt is. I already told you about our big earthquake of 1886, but an earthquake bolt is basically a turnbuckle. If we have another one, which we haven't, by the way, of that magnitude, you can tighten those bolts after the earthquake, and it's supposed to tighten up the buildings without incurring further damage. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So the reason I bring these up is because it's part of the reason why we're here. So those earthquake bolts on that building are the oldest, earthquake bolts that we have because it's the first that they were put in. That's the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. They needed it to be protected. So think about that. 1713 is the age of the building. The earthquake happened in 1886. I want to say those earthquake bolts were probably put in like 1889. So probably a few years after to be able to design them properly. But at any rate, so we're here because this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came to Charleston to start a new life. So this is what I call a familiar. You guys have seen your TV shows where they actually use a teddy bear to try to attract a child ghost? This is the same type of mentality to recognize the building. So that's why we're here. Let's get into her crazy history. The building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government, small building, 10 years? No, not at all.
Wouldn't our government?
Yeah, not. Our story begins right in the middle of it. Try to follow me. There's a lot of twists. I'll slow down on the twist to make sure you guys get them. Chip's like, oh, I like twists. I can see this shit in green again.
I love history.
Your smile is
I love history and
by the
twists.
way. I love it. So, 1708 is where our story begins. Let's go back to Ireland. A young lady comes here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her dad and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are y'all with me so far? Okay? The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. So, for you gentlemen, that guy had to leave the country. Be good to your ladies. So, get my point. It's 1708. There's no planes. That man got on a boat to come here. He landed in Georgetown. That's about an hour and a half north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach. Kind of gives you an idea of where they were. Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. That means he's going to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation to help keep things afloat. Hence the familiar building. So, Anne, back home in Ireland, is said to be a badass even back then. They say she killed a servant when Anne was 7, 8, 9 years old, remember pirate lore, with a knife to the belly. So again, we have had the terms servant, knife, and belly show up at this base all in one evening in the past. So kind of keep that in mind. What do you have?
I've been getting like cell isolation and trial.
Welcome to the Powder Magazine. We're going to be talking about Anne Bonny's trial and how she was jailed. Had a lot of good people in here tonight, I think. So I don't always get to say that. I know. I don't pay much. That's London.
I'll go home.
You're not going anywhere. It's not like you can drive yet. We don't have a valid driver's license. Anyway, back to Anne. Let's fast forward. The building was done in 1713. By 1715, pirates are coming through town. Anne's pretty stoked. Why? Because she's going to fall in love, so she can earn her freedom, just like the man. It's a man's world during this time. So, first guy she falls in love with. Yes, I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through every one of them. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going, right? So, we already mentioned a pirate name. Dad didn't approve because he was a filthy pirate. They ran away to Jamaica and got married. Cormac is now Anne Bonny, famous female pirate. However, James Bonny is not Captain Jack Sparrow like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer, so he's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. This is not who she wants. A few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2, John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character on. Just so you guys know, this is the guy. So she's just going to stick with him. He has his own crew and ship. She wants to be part of that crew. Can't put a girl on a pirate crew. Does anybody know why?
Good luck.
Thank you for keeping it family friendly. I get a lot of bad answers to that question, so I just make sure everybody's paying attention at this point because we're halfway through. So it makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. Most of us are adults here. Let's put 2 and 2 together. She's eventually going to get pregnant. Can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. So somebody's going to figure out that Jack let a girl on crew, and then they're going to vote him as captain off the ship. So he drops her off in Cuba before she starts the show. Have the baby here, come back later, we'll figure it out. These are friends of mine, I'll help you. She comes back after delivering the baby without a baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. No amount of my research has ever found it, just so you know. Been researching this for 3 years now. So, back to what's going on with Calico Jack. He captured a pirate crew while she was gone, giving birth to his baby. So, that pirate crew is down below deck. Anne's going to go flirting with that pirate crew to make Jack even more mad because he's already angry about her coming back dressed as a female. So, she doesn't care. She's going to make him mad. She goes down. We're on guy number 3, in case you lost track. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. No
Like the
ifs.
word air,
Being spelled out.
A-I-R. Or it could be
Could be.
Under pressure, likely.
He keeps giving me the artist. I'm waiting for like the track number out of him too. Anyway, so
Side B.
the 2 females that are dressed as pirates. By the way, the young lady she was flirting with was named Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. They became lovers, possibly. We don't really know. We're not going to really know for sure anyway. But the British find out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come take down one pirate ship. The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with 1 bullet flintlocks. Obviously, they're not going to be able to take on a whole fleet of ships. And it's probably also because they didn't know how to use the cannons yet. They weren't pirates for very long. So, they get arrested. As they're being arrested, she looks at her captain, her beau, Calico Jack, and she says, "Jack, I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't have to be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up very often at this location. It's a very famous quote by Anne Bonny. So, the judge wants to see the 2 men, quote unquote, that fought back on their own, Anne and Mary. The other 2, Jack and the crew, are already dead and gone. He's already tried and hung them, so they're gone. Anne and Mary go in front and reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. And he doesn't give a shit that they're female. They're still pirates. "We plead our bellies" was the last thing they screamed out because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So it sends them both back to jail. Now, Dad is still up here in South Carolina, all of his Irish money. He was an attorney back home. He had money. That's kind of how things went. He bails out Anne, brings her home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, guy number 4, because we're going to count married. We don't really know for sure. So she has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. Very abrupt. And yes, it escalates very quickly.
I wouldn't have put money on that.
Now with this one, we don't know much about her after her pirate career. So she's pretty famous for, what, 2.5 years that she was a pirate. So Mary Read, she dies a year later, well, actually just a handful of months, in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Most books would tell you that it was something simple like fever. I'm going to say let's make it romantic and call it scurvy. Why the hell not? We're talking pirates, let's do this. So, 2 questions I left out because you all know how to ask questions to your spirit boxes by now. So you're going to have fun with this. I left out the names of Anne Bonny's parents. That's the father and the mistress on purpose. So that way you guys had something to work with. I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship, the city that Anne Bonny was raised in Ireland, and the color of her hair, which I'm sure you can guess was red. So red comes up here pretty prominent as well. So we're going to spread around the space. We are fortunate enough that there are absolutely no vehicles in here, but tours love to cut through this lot or even stop to tell their groups about the Powder Magazine's history and construction. So be mindful of them. But yeah, we're going to spread out in here, and I'm going to let you guys get to work because you all know what you're doing by now. This is a pretty awesome team. So again, I don't get this every single night. I normally have to stick with one person and keep explaining shit over and over and over.
Yes. Did you hear yes?
Hmm?
I heard like yes and yep. Did you hear that?
I said, where did you grow up in Ireland? What was the name of the town? What was the name of the town in Ireland where you were born?
Go over by the building.
This is
Nope.
it's really loud.
I've heard yes and no. Come on. Did you hear Calico? What's the name of the ship?
Travel.
Grab a set of letters that you can't take anything out of it. You're going to reset it by using it down to 6 and then back up to 10. Give you a fresh plate. Otherwise, it's just going to overwhelm whatever you're getting. So I'm going to get more problems. So you have to find a slot comfortable.
turn down.
No, I need to be able to find something.
You just say hey.
I said red. Murder zone. Oh, we were walking.
Mainly by that cemetery we walked
As
past?
we were just before, and yeah.
Alright, so get everybody over here. Come on over, Kristen. Gotta explain how this is gonna work. Christian, who's gonna sit with you, buddy? Anybody else want to not know the history of this space so you can see how relevant this is?
Okay.
Alright, so, well, he's going to be the only one blindfolded at this point, so looks like he's got his purse.
Okay, good.
Alright, so here's how this is going to go. The rest of us are going to go over there. I'm going to give him a blindfold so he can get it open. I wax his gross too, so I don't want him back. So they're disposable, they'll be yours. So basically when you open this guy up for single serve, just like an airplane, you're going to open it up this way and it's 2-ply. Pull up on the center and there's a place to rip so you can have 2 loopholes going over your ears. So that's how that guy actually works. And then, while I'm telling you, we're only going to be over there for like 5 minutes. And once you play with these noise canceling headphones, you don't need to put them on right away, but definitely get used to the tension of them, just because they're still relatively new, and that way you can see how they pull apart, because I'm going to have to hand them to you once you're blindfolded. So when we come back, we're going to be talking to him as if he's the ghost, like I said, and hopefully he's going to give us answers. Lori's going to film everything. Everybody else is doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So Abe, do you have any readings coming out of that device at all? We have gotten triple digits, so over 100 in this location, just so you know. Anything crazy, Amelia, that I need to know about before we go over?
Do you know who Mason is?
It's not necessarily Mason a person, it might be a Freemason. And that would be your friend George Washington right here. Or he's like, all right, that's why we keep Nick around. He thinks outside the box. Good deal. All right, guys, let's go learn the history of this space. We're going to leave these two behind so they can kind of get used to things. There's a chair right there in the center. Perfect. All right. When I first came here, guys, I had no idea what was going to happen because I was experimenting with new spaces. Look around. There's a million monuments, right? So I had a small party of 2. We were supposed to get rained out, but I had 2 that lagged behind. What that person heard was the year 1828. The name Henry showed up, and the name Tim showed up on Amelia's word list. Behind me is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. Very specific details, yes? So here's how this goes. I knew I'd heard the story before, but again, I don't want to know too much because I want to get it out of all of our answers that we're getting here. Henry Timrod was a poet and a writer. Here's how his story goes. He was pretty much sick through most of his life, but being born in 1828, he's obviously old enough to, go fight in the war, the Civil War, and he wants to fight for the Confederates. He goes out to fight, but his comrades tell him, you're too sick to fight, dude. Go home and write and be the voice of the war. We'll tell people what's going on out here on the battlefield. So he came out and he started writing poetry, telling everybody what was going on. He became known as the laureate of the Confederacy. For us writers, that's a pretty prestigious title. Now, a few years after he comes home, he has a son. Now, you guys are all going to know the name of the son, but he's not, obviously. The name of the son was Willie. He was born on Christmas Eve, and he died 9 months later, October 23rd. So, obviously very tragic. It was a dark and stormy night, by the way, in case you didn't see the lightning. But a few years after his son passes away, he's still mourning, and his old college buddy gets a hold of him and says, you know what, you're not writing as much as you should be. Come out to my cottage in Columbia. You can finish working on the piece you're supposed to be doing for the newspaper and have some peace. Leave the wife, Katie, behind with her parents to mourn even further. So he goes out, and that's where he writes his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality. Person of short life, in essence, in today's language. So then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain because he had tuberculosis. Yeah. So we had, was it chest and congestion show up or something along those lines? Or, it was something about asthma. Chronic asthma.
Chronic,
so I was like, that's interesting. That's why I said, next location. So that blood stain on that page is famous. That blood stain looks like a man writing at his desk. You can call it the blood book. Timrod's entire collection is held at the Charleston Library Society. They only show this book one day a year on that page because it's known as the Blood Book, and they show it on Halloween. But the internet is beautiful. So I'm going to show you what the blood stain looks like, so that way you guys get a gist of it, and then we're going to go learn more about Mr. Timrod and see how this is actually going to go down. I'm kind of disappointed. I was trying to rush just to make sure the bells were going to continue going because I kind of used that with the EMF. Like, Henry, what are you hearing? We get a lot of heat. They'll say bells all the time. Or it'll show up on your spirit box. Happens. So here is the last page that he ever wrote. I love the fact that it tells a whole story. Beholder of brief mortality, coughs, dies, right on the page, blood stain. So, very cool stuff.
Yikes.
So again, you guys got the gist of why we're here. Nice creepy story to end our night with.
Yeah.
Nice new experiment to try to play
Nice.
things out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go over and give him some tips because this is a weird thing to do. Just so you guys know, definitely keep. Again, you guys all need jobs. Like, that's the perfect shot right there. I love it. We probably have 1 trillion pictures, by the way. I've been watching KRISTEN all night long, and she's literally been snapping pictures everywhere we go. So great job, and kudos to you, but you probably missed out on some of the audio, which is like, yeah, he's got it recorded. I love it. So let's go to work, and let's see what we can get out of this guy. tap your leg. So, Zora, when I do that, I will say, let's count him out, and I'll go 3, 2, 1, and then you tap him out. The reason I do that is because it gives our friend, Henry, a little opportunity to, say one last thing. So, January in trial, 2 terms. Christian, when I tap you out, or when Zora taps you out and you take everything off, you're going to remain seated for at least a few minutes, just because this can be a little disorienting for you. Might come out a little dizzy, so it might come out perfectly fine. You never know. I've seen people come up and they're trying to fall down. I'm like, nope, get your ass back in the bench. Again, once we get you comfortable with the volume of that, I want you to leave the spirit box to your side so we can know that you're not altering the volume to hear us. So you guys are all getting the gist of this whole experiment, correct? This can work out really well, or it can work out really bad. So we're going to see how it goes. All right, let's go ahead and turn that volume up and pull your blindfold down, and then put your hands out, and I'll give you the noise canceling headphones. So it is 11:03. This is the only thing I timed during our time together, just so you guys know, just so he's not under for too long. So I usually give him about a minute. It's 11:03. Give him about 30 seconds to get acclimated to the sounds. Let's huddle in a little bit closer, just
7
in case.
and 8, 11.
Holy cow. So Henry, I'm here again.
Years later.
I brought a whole team with me tonight. Actually, we got a little bit more people than normal.
Sources.
But this is Christian sitting here, and he can hear you through the box with the red lights. So, first thing I want to ask is, tell us what your job was. Can you tell us anything about what you did for a living?
6-year-old.
Henry, I want you to tell us what you did for a living.
I think it's short-sighted.
Henry, one more time. What did you do for a living? I'm starting off very simple. You gave us the answer just the other night. Let's try it again.
Isaiah.
Henry, let's move on.
Celebrate.
We can do that. Why don't you tell us about the birth of your son? Can you maybe tell us a part of the date of when he was born?
America.
It's a very specific date for a holiday for us. What was the holiday where your son was born? Yeah, any readings?
Technology.
We're using a lot of technology. Thank you for recognizing that. But I want to get some specific answers out of you.
Mom, we don't know. Daddy's getting hot.
Tell me about your son. Maybe what his name was, his birthday. So anything you want to tell us. We'll go a little broad tonight. Henry Timrod. Can you tell us how many people are here with you? See if you give me the same number that you normally give. How many people are here with you? Don't count any of us that are watching.
Hawaii.
Anybody else get any words? Any words on your word list? Was Amelia anything?
Not in simple. I don't have it.
What's that? Henry makes what else?
I mean, we get a lot of different clues. And that Mason thing was pretty specific. Notice he's not talking as I'm talking to the rest of you.
High profiles. 360.
Henry, let's get anything you want to tell us specific about you, your life, your family. question, and given us that answer before, specifically, just so you guys all know. Like, that was an amazing session. Come on, Henry. We're all listening.
Sober now.
Henry. Can you at least give us something simple, like you're just here with us? A simple yes or no. Even if you say no, we know you're going to be here. No readings at all.
2 blocks away.
That's 59 Church Street. It's 2 blocks away. Exactly. What's 2 blocks away?
Victory of the season.
It's been under about 6 minutes, just so you guys know. Okay, what's that? Henry, anything that you want to tell us? 'Cause you haven't given us anything yet. I'm going to close it down if you don't want to talk to us. Henry, one last chance. I'm going to count it out. Zora, get ready.
I am your God.
Doubt it.
He speaks.
Who speaks? Henry, I'm going to count it out. 3, 2, 1. That tap. Give me a good tap.
Call me.
He's not getting the message, everybody.
Odds-on favorite.
He wants to keep going, is what he's doing.
Am I supposed to take him off?
Yes. That was the tapping you out.
Yeah, I thought you said you were taking these off, though.
No, I won't take anything off of you. Like, I don't touch any of you guys, sorry.
No.
Like, that's a weird thing to do. Go ahead and take off your blindfold.
Just this industry.
It's okay. How are you feeling?
Still fine.
Yeah? How did it feel when you were under?
Nothing like crazy.
Okay. You didn't give us anything. I'll be honest. Like, there was no... Like, this was unsuccessful. Like, I'm not going to paint a picture of, like, how beautiful this was. We were asking direct questions. We gave him general questions to give us anything he wanted to. Absolutely nothing came out of that. So, again, sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. So, unsuccessful ones, we just learned from it. Like, what kind of questions did we ask? Were we asking the same questions we ask every single night? Was that the problem? Those kind of things. But again, we did get a lot of video of, you know, the entire thing. I don't think anybody did any